What's up, everybody? This is Flood the Drummer of Wake Up with WURD. I'm here with Michael O'Brien. He is the Director of Youth and Young Adult Programming at the Village of Arts and Humanities. And we're talking about the recent shooting of T.A. Williams, who was an organizer with the Youth Arts Self-Empowerment Project. Michael O'Brien, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. He was also in leadership there, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's another great point of just his work and prowess and what he offered. And I think is still offering to the world.
So, I guess I wanted to start the conversation with, you knew T.A.
Yeah, T.A., I've known him for roughly a year through organizing work, actually, through a project that's spearheaded by Carnegie Hall and a group out of L.A. called the Arts for Incarcerated Youth Network. And in fact, in the clip, his mother references him, recently coming back from L.A. We were actually out in LA together at this initiative, Create Justice, and TA and I were facilitating some workshops together there.
So the clip you reference is, WURD Radio was out in the community at Cross Game Burks at the vigil for this young man.
Yeah.
And the mother and the sister and others were speaking, and the mother said she didn't know her son impacted so many people's lives and he was so humble with his work. Is that how you would describe him, as humble and kind of quiet and...
Humble, brilliant. I watched that young man, change a room full of policymakers and funders, practitioners and art makers in New York City. For the first Create Justice convening, we went to LA September-ish. The first convening
of this year?
Yeah, I think the first convening was like February-ish. So a group of us came up from Philly. So that's how I met him, I met Yas.
Was that your first time meeting him?
That was my first time meeting him.
And what was the initial reaction when you met him? How did you perceive him? And did that change after you got to know him?
He was so full of energy and light, and he was excited to be there, and eager to take part and to share and to listen. And I'm telling you, we all watched him change that room. In a number of ways. He courageously called out the lack of young people in the space who have been impacted by this issue, right? 307 people, and TA might have been the only one, actually, who was young and impacted by the issue. He took advantage of what was there in a positive way. I treasured those moments that we spent together and we talked, and we actually did an interview together between the first session and the second session for the National Guild of Community Arts Education, because TNA ended up tag teaming there. I found a comrade, I really did, and the beauty of what he seeded there is that it's going to live on. People when they heard from that initiative, they reached out. They said to a lot of us, right? It wasn't just to one person. My heart's really with Yas because they were
the Yas. That's the Youth Art Self-Empowerment Project.
An amazing organization. They loved him. They love him, and they, that was his organizing home, and then probably in another sense, like another form of home for him, I'm sure. Beyond just like it being an organizer.
So what was your reaction when you heard about it? Was it shock? Sadness?
I was oh God, look.
Are you getting goosebumps now?
Yeah, I cried. I had heard this, there was this rumor and buzzing about a young person that had gotten, unfortunately, murdered, and I just was like, and the people that I heard talking about it, I probably knew the person. And I just didn't ask any more questions because I needed to get through my work day. And I was like, it was just a moment of like kind of self-care for a moment of like, I'm not gonna go deeper in that issue right now. I know I'll find out by the close of the day.
Okay.
That was really how I took that moment. And yeah, I signed on to Facebook that night, and that was the first thing that popped up the moment I signed on, and I just I cried. I think that's the only thing you could do.
So a lot of people will see this killing.
That's not the only thing you could do. I don't want to tell people how they can grieve. I just want to be clear on my last statement. Sorry.
It's not 100% sure what exactly happened. It's still being investigated, to my understanding. But it's said rumored to be around a neighborhood beef or some long-standing neighborhood, drama. Is this common in the type of stories you hear when you work with families and children affected by violence is that the violence is usually occurring because of a beef or something that could actually be solved through conversation?
Yeah, I mean, all violence could be solved through conversation.
All violence?
I think so. I mean, I know it's a bold statement, and this is bigger for a moment than TA.
Right.
Violence is the result of conflict, right? Violence is a methodology that we have taken on as a means to solve conflict. So really what we're talking about is the issue of conflict resolution and the ability for us to resolve tensions.
While we're praying for TA, we need to pray for each other. We need to put these guns down. We're killing ourselves. Ain't nobody from the outside gonna come in and kill us because we killing each other. Look at all these brothers out here that's dying on their streets. TA was doing all the right stuff. He was trying to help kids. He was being a positive impact in our communities. This brother was working for us, and somebody gunned him down in the streets. Whoever knows something need to say something. You know something, say something. If we start telling, then these motherfuckers will stop pulling out guns and killing us.
It's just, this is also surreal to me because we started this project at WURD. We were sitting in that room talking about these issues. And a month and a half into this project, here's
hits
this
home,
young,
literally.
I mean, who was doing the right things. You know?
So what does that tell you then about?
I hope it tells. It doesn't tell me. It
doesn't tell you anything you don't already know,
be
right?
A jerk.
No,
right? It's not telling me anything I don't know. I hope it's showing to other people. We can come up with prescriptive list of what somebody needs to do to quote unquote, I don't know, whatever the vernacular or moniker is that people want to use, turn their life around, make a difference, get on the straight and narrow. I mean, all that language we have. Meritocracy will not save anybody. Policy change. You know,
What kind of policy change could have saved T.A. Williams?
What kind of TA talked about? There's a brilliant and beautiful article written in commemoration of that young man's journey that the Inquirer put out. There's a whole section there about him looking for jobs and work. Right? Some people don't. As another piece, right? So we know jobs is one thing. And meaningful work at
right.
that, right? That's providing access.
Family sustaining work.
Yeah, right, and access to income and mobility.
You said something actually I watched you testify at City Council on the violence as a public health hearing.
Yeah.
You said something similar. You
I
said
was really nervous.
But you said something like, it can't just be, giving somebody a job at, ringing up as a cashier at CVS or this kind of menial.
That's so, I get annoyed, because those jobs are going.
Yeah.
We're kind of pausing on removing them, I think, because of the impact it'll have on the economy if we just went in with a big sweep and took all those jobs out.
Right, and full automation,
But so we know that work, and there's nothing, let's be clear, I do not ever degrade people who are working to make a living. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we as a culture, we as a civilized society, whatever we want to call that, we have to do the civilized thing, which is connect people to income that is sustaining if we want to solve very large problems. Economics, money, jobs, the touch points that those spaces have with multiple places that are really about your biological survival are kind of through the roof. Right? And when we do not look at it that way, when we don't frame unemployment, underemployment, or the shifting economy as a pending public health issue, then this, to me, it's a problem, right? And so TA can do all those right things, he still couldn't get work. The article talks about it, it's got quotes from him there, quotes from people that knew him much better than I did.
Is it because society just saw him as an ex-offender? They couldn't see past that?
They saw him as black. Let's just be honest, right? And I'm going to loosely quote a brilliant academic who writes on topics around race and poverty. His name's John Powell. John Powell talks about policies. Limitations is that it is only able to iterate out of the national structures and imaginations that we have for groups of people. if black people are seen as inferior. Like, there's this woman at Penn who's a lawyer running around in public spaces and in media spaces as well, talking about the inferiority of other cultures in relationship to the Western world. And she doesn't shy away at it, shouldn't bite her tongue. Those kinds of thought patterns, belief systems, that kind of community and group psychology, that doesn't shift quickly. It takes hopefully only decades, but really, I mean, that's going to take some time to shift. And there's something Hillary Clinton said that, like, I don't have anything against Hillary Clinton, not my favorite choice for president, definitely my choice above Donald Trump for president, but she said something that, like, made me kind of scratch my head, and I said, I kind of dig. She said, I don't believe in changing hearts. I believe in changing policy.
There's some truth to that, right? There's some pragmatism.
Right, that's exactly right. It's pragmatic when we're looking for solutions. I don't really care about changing the heart of 65-year-old racists. Like, that's somebody's job. I honor that. That's not my job.
But it seems as if let me just say, I don't believe in the term black on black crime. And I know you don't, because there's a lot of but it would seem that if we're talking about what I call interracial violence or proximal violence, that is a chaining of the hearts, right? Because it's a heart and it's a mindset that's causing that type of violence, not necessarily a policy. Policies are implicated in that. It exacerbates that.
Healthy challenge. Why are people violent in local communities?
Well, because they're disadvantaged.
Disadvantaged, the ways that they get to participate in the labor market, what kind of labor is available to them.
Look at Africa. Those people are equally impoverished, maybe even worse off. They're not participating in any meaningful economy, yet they're not killing each other.
Right. Violence is also a learned behavior, right? Let's go back to...
That's the key part. Right.
So I don't know if it's about changing... We're not changing the heart of 65-year-old white men to solve crime issues in North Philadelphia. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I think...
But we have to change the issue of 23... We have to change the mindset of 23-year-old black men in North Philadelphia.
Absolutely. Where do you do that? Any place that they are, like, it's compulsory, right? Their presence is compulsory. School. If it's jail, the jail should look amazing. It should be amazing. And its goal should be to shut down very soon.
Like, our boys don't deserve to be dying in the streets like fucking animals. For real. We gotta take back our own communities, y'all. Ain't nobody gonna come in and fix this. We gotta fix this ourselves. Tree shouldn't be feeling this. She shouldn't be suffering this pain. Now we got a 2-year-old little girl with no father. Cause somebody ain't know how to go in the street and have a fair one. Like, nobody gonna help us, y'all. We gotta take back our communities.
Our emotions have biological spaces and places that we don't think about. And when we don't put violence into that context as to why is it that violence, harm, is the method or methodology of conflict resolution, which is a part of the human experience, we've got to get into the places and spaces that are supposed to be shaping how people view and frame problems, how they build an index of skills to solve and mitigate conflict in those problems, and give them the opportunity to fail in trying those things out before the stakes or the risk of failure is too high, the cost is too high. Life is the cost, that's too high. So we can do the interventions, I'm with it, but we have to do preventions, and I don't think we get the choice to go we don't get to go, one needs 70% of our funding, the other needs 20, and then we'll put 10% at the back end somewhere.
Just kind of wrapping up, do you see any meaningful movement locally in City Hall or around City Hall about a conflict resolution? I mean, are we putting that into a K-12 curriculum?
I'll say this. I think the problem is that what we call conflict resolution probably is not conflict resolution anymore.
What do you mean?
I think when we talk about conflict resolution, it becomes a package of skills that are necessary, like de-escalation skills. Learning how to. Actually, I can't even say. I was about to say learning how to put your emotions into language, but I can't even say for the work that I do that I've actually seen that be a part of conflict resolution packages, and it needs to be, right? This is what I don't know if the labels we're using to describe certain packages of activities and practices, I don't know if they're outfitted with the things that we need for this 22nd century. The way technology is advancing and compounding, and our access to everything from computing devices, that it's a phone, a tablet, or this or that, to guns, to whatever, like, we have to relearn what it means biologically and psychologically to be a human, and then what that also means for how we are group-based as an organism. We don't live by ourselves. That's just not true. So I don't know if conflict resolution will save the day as it's currently constructed.
Is there one thing that's going to save the day? I mean, is there one thing that's going to prevent another T.A. Williams from dying?
Yeah, humans caring about each other.
That's the hardest. That's a hard job.
And policy moving that way. Are there things that City Hall's doing? I'm 32. I'll be the first to say I don't have enough history. I'm pretty well read. I don't mean that arrogantly, but I know that also means there's a ton of stuff I haven't read. There are a ton of things about procedure and policy I don't understand. We need a mass re-education or an initial education in local civics. How are we supposed to make local government work for us when all we see is the corruption, and then we hear about success stories that seem real disparate, and right now we're arguing over like plexiglass and bullet glass, or like bulletproof glass, and we have a poverty epidemic that's through the roof. I just don't know if we're prioritizing the right conversations, and I mean that respectfully.
Michael O'Brien for mayor?
No, hell no. And never. Oh my God, no. And that's no disrespect to anybody in politics. I want to do research.
Okay.
I want to get this information out to people. I want to push for new frameworks so that we can conceptualize and innovate in ways that center the human being, really, in a number of fields. And politics is not the place to do the research. Politics is the space to argue for the policy that the research should be informing.
All right.
You know?
Well, I have to leave it there, Michael. Thank you so much for your time. And
all this passion. You got me like,
I'm sorry for your loss and for the city's loss. And this conversation was brought to you by WURD Radio's Violence Reportive Collaborative. We're looking for responses and solutions to violence. If you have either one or a personal story, visit WURDradio.com and participate in our online forums. Or you can tweet me at the station. I'm at Flood the Drummer, or you can tweet WURD Radio at OnWord. Until next time, I'm Flood the Drummer, and I'm drumming for justice.
I need to talk. I need to talk. I need to talk.
Bro, I'm hype right now, bro. I can't chill. Well, this is my first morning not waking up without you.
My boy.
I didn't get to see you because I'm used to waking up with you every day. We did have an early minute talk. I can talk.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And everything is so weird. It feels so wrong. Cause this is my first morning of waking up without you. I never see you again.
Come on, sis, you got it.
We have our early morning talks. Which one do how you want to change your life? And then I'm never gonna see you again. I'm never gonna wake up with you or nothing. Oh God.
What about your daughter? Like, really?
Fuck everything.
Ahead,
like, what
Mom.
about
Go
his
ahead,
daughter?
Naima.
Like,
Go ahead.
she really gotta live. She about to be 2 years old. Like, what about her dad? Like, never.
These people are out here because my son touched many lives. Older, younger. He was all about the youth. No matter what he was doing, he was about the youth. He was about being real. He was out giving back to people he don't know. My son has been all around the world, all different states. I've been getting telegrams for everywhere. Greece, I got one from Greece, Chicago, New York. He just came back from LA doing workshops on the youth and the prison system that's putting these youth in adult prison. You know, he's all about his work. No matter what he did outside, he made sure he got to his job. He had to travel, he traveled. You know, he was all about the youth, giving back to people he don't know. And
stay chasing.
I didn't know my son touched so many lives. I didn't know his humbleness of what he was doing. You know, as far as caring and sharing his experience to get where he at to be able to help other people. My son is a hero. He's a hero. He's my hero.